Hello there friends, it's Marie here again at Nicole Designs. Thanks for stopping into my channel. Today I'm sharing some Spellbinders goodies. These are some new items that are available at Spellbinders. They have their Glimmering Flowers collection, and today I'm going to be playing with their Glimmering Peonies, and these come with these layered stencils that I'll show you how to use. They're really fun. Can be used in lots of different ways, different color schemes to give you some gorgeous cards. So here are some I've used already, just to give you an idea of what this image looks like when you glimmer it with that hot foil and you add the color there. All kinds of different things. Now I really like the pink combination of colors, so I'm going to be working with that today, but I also did a yellow one and a blue one there that you can see, so lots of different color combinations, whatever you choose to do. Now I know I've shown glimmering and this hot foil stamping in the past on my channel, but I thought I'd just give you a good look at it here today. This is the Glimmer Platform, the Glimmer machine from Spellbinders. It is a platform that heats up, so it warms those glimmer plates, and then you're going to add foil and paper and run it through your die cutting machine, and it essentially presses that plate and that foil into your paper, so you actually get an embossed and foiled image. So it's like stamping with foil instead of stamps and ink. So it's really fun. Now there's a few things that kind of get used to when you first start foiling. You got to let that plate heat up, and you've got to build your sandwich the right way. So I was just showing you there how I was kind of trying to get my glimmer plate oriented in the way that I wanted it to go with my paper, and now I've got it on my platform heating up, and I have the image facing up because you're going to lay that flat side down, you're going to put your foil down, and then you're going to put your paper down. Now if you put your foil down in the wrong direction, you'll actually end up foiling your plate. So like you see me doing here, you want the pretty side of your foil down on your plate, and that back side of your foil needs to be touching your paper. I think of it as the sticky side of the foil. That's the side that's going to stick to your paper or stick to your plate. Whatever it's touching, it'll stick to. So the back side of your foil is what you want touching your paper, so it will stick onto your paper. So I've got my plate all heated up here. The green lights were all solid on the machine, which tells me I can now pop it out of that machine, run it through my die cutting machine, and that will add some pressure to my plate and press it into my paper. So I just do one pass through my die cutting machine. I have in the past reversed it and pulled it back out the other way, but you really don't need to. One pass through your machine is good enough. And then you can peel off that foil, and you can see that that image has been imprinted into your paper with the foil, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to not foil this, we're going to color it using the layered stencils. Now there are a number of stencils in this kit. They coordinate with this image, and you can see as I tip it in the light, they are all numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They also have that little corner edge down there by that number, so you could line it up if you wanted to. I put this image on an angle, so it's actually not going to be straight up and down on my cardstock. So I'm just going to angle it until I find where those big images line up, and I'm going to stencil. Now you can go ahead and use some craft tape to tape the paper and tape the stencil down to your area so it won't move while you're stenciling. Sometimes I like to cut corners and not do those things. So I'm just holding it with my hand here, but I am aware that it's not taped down and that I don't want to nudge it and move it around. And I'm just making sure before I apply my next color that it's still lined up. And I'm using some oxides and some ink blending tools just to add my colors. Now, like I said, I'm using a combination of pinks and greens. I do have some of these oxide inks linked down in the description box below, but feel free to play around with your own colors and come up with combinations that you like. You don't have to do it exactly the same way, but if you're inspired, take a peek at the inks that I have listed in the description box. So I did speed up this little portion of the video. This is the ink blending. I didn't want to cut it out completely because I wanted to show you how I'm lining up all of those different stencils and switching to different inks. I did really like on the leaves there using a darker green and a lighter green. I thought that just gave a little bit of variation of color. So there's a lot of different things you can do when you're coloring these images. You could also use some kind of medium like a paste, like a glitter paste, or something shiny. If you wanted to add that over the stencil with a palette knife, you could do that as well. I would suggest doing that as one of the last steps after you put some color on, because if you put something wet on these stencils, you're going to have to wait for it to dry to put the next stencil on. And if you put some dimension through these stencils with some paste or something, it's going to be harder to line up your other stencils and have them lay flat. So you could go over this again if you wanted to add some glitter paste over the top of some of these areas. But it's just really fun to play around with different mediums and everything. Today I'm just using the oxides. So I'm filling in some more of those little greenery pieces there, and that is the image. It's really fun, really easy to line up. Those stencils are a little bit see-through, so you can see the image behind it and you can line everything up. So after I had this all stenciled, I decided I wanted a little bit more dimension in the color that I'm using. It looks a little flat here with just those pinks and greens. So I'm taking a little blending brush here and I'm picking up some purple and I'm blending it on to certain areas of my flower. I'm not using the stencil for this. I'm just going freehand and just adding some color into some of these areas that I thought would be darker on the flower. Adds a little bit of shadow, which gives it a little bit more dimension, and it actually brings in another color, makes it look a little bit more interesting, helps it pop a little bit more. As I've crafted throughout the years, I'm trying to teach myself not to be afraid of too much color. I tend to go for the lighter colors and not apply a lot, but it really is helpful if you add a little bit more dimension and a little bit more shadowing. So something that I'm trying to go for, teach myself, and just think about what colors can blend together well. Obviously pinks and purples, you won't have too much of a hard time blending it, and it won't muddy any colors or look really bad. So I'm adding some of that purple on the different flowers, on some of those buds there, and it really just makes it pop a little bit. So these little blending brushes are really handy for adding a little bit of detail work in there if you want to. You can go back over it. Some of those other cards that I did in the beginning, I actually went over them again with a glitter pen, added some shine to it. So lots of fun things that you can do when you're done stenciling and foiling these images. So there it is, all foiled, all colored. One thing you can do after you're done with the ink is take a rag and gently wipe over the foil. This will remove some of the ink that's just sitting on top of the foil, help that foil to shine a little bit more, and just finish off that image. So I come back a little bit later, so the lighting on my video is a little bit different there. You can see my colors have dried, so it looks a little bit different in this part of the video than it did just a second ago. But I wanted to add a little bit of detail to this image. Now the image itself is gorgeous as is. You've got the foiling there and those bright vivid colors, but I wanted a little something else to add to this card. So I just simply took some scrap paper and I cut some strips of paper. These are probably about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to arrange them over my card and just kind of eyeball this, and I'm going to weave a few of these strips of paper together. I don't know if there's a name for this technique. I just take paper strips and weave them, so maybe it's paper strip weaving or weaving strip something. I don't know. It's not like, basket weaving or anything, but it kind of is. I'm taking 3 strips of each of these and I'm just simply alternating the way that I put them together, as you can see there, and I'm putting it in 2 different directions, an angle on the front of my card. So it's a little bit fun. It kind of reminds me of a lattice in a garden that flowers would grow on. And you can really play around with this and make the angles different, different placements on your card. If you have a little bit more white space on your card where you don't have any floral image in there, you can add a little detail. I just thought this was really fun. It adds some detail, adds some texture and interest, but I kept the paper strips white, so it's not going to pull any of your eye away from the color of the flower. Just thought it was fun. Now I'm also using some tape strips to tape down my paper strips when I have them in place. This is going to hold everything together so that when I'm ready to adhere it down, it doesn't have to be a big mess. So you'll see how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to add a little bit of this paper craft tape to each of the sides of those paper strips to hold them all together. As you can see there, I'm taping it down onto my glass mat, but it's going to come up very easily. This is a very low tack tape. So I've got those all taped down in place. I'm still going to work with those paper strips a little bit and make them placement where I want them. But I can easily peel this away from my glass mat now. Everything's going to stay together. I'm not going to completely lose everything I've weaved, and I can flip it over onto the back side. You can also see here I'm playing with it. I'm kind of putting some of those strips closer together, trying to get the space between them even, keep that angle the way I want it. And this low tack tape is handy dandy for making all kinds of adjustments. So check out the description box below for that item as well. I've got everything listed down there. I've also got links to the blog post that I've done for this if you want to go see more pictures of my card. And I have a few other cards posted on my blog, some photos of them if you want more ideas on how to use the Glimmering Peonies foil plate and layered stencils. So I have my paper strips all where I want them. I'm going to glue them to the front of my card using some liquid glue. Now you can go ahead and use some foam adhesive. You could go ahead and use a tape runner. The liquid glue is a little bit forgiving in this instance, so that when I want to put it down on my card, I have a little bit of wiggle room to move those little paper strips around if they don't end up being where I want them to be. So I'm just eyeballing this, seeing where I want all of this detail to end up, and then I'll stick it down eventually, I think right here. And then I can just wiggle things around, make sure they're all spaced nicely, take that tape off, and that liquid glue is not dry yet, so I can move it to where I want it to go before it dries and it's stuck on there nicely. So I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, make sure you give it a thumbs up, like it, comment, subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any more videos. My videos have been few and far between lately. We are busy over here, but I'm hoping later this summer maybe I can get into a little bit more creating and sharing, but I appreciate all of the support that my viewers always send. So make sure you like it if you like it. Comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, whatever. And thank you so much for watching and for your support. So now I think I have all of those strips kind of where I want them. I'm going to remove that tape there. And as that glue is drying, it's sticking pretty well already, not completely dry, but I'm going to flip my card over so I can see the back side. And I'm going to trim off those longer pieces that are hanging off the edge of the card there. It's easy to trim them when you flip your card over. You can use the side of your card as a guide to cut them just perfectly and just straight, so they're just nice and lined up with the edges of your card, and it will kind of finish off the design for this card. Like I said, those glimmered flowers are so gorgeous, kind of the star of the show of these cards. You don't need to add a whole lot more to it to make it a really nice card to send somebody. I am going to stick this on a card base using some foam adhesive just to pop it up and give it some dimension. I also cut down that front panel so that I have a little bit of an edge of a matting around there, just to kind of give it a finished look. And I'm going to use one of the sentiments from this Glimmering Flowers collection. They have a set of sentiments in this banner shape. You go ahead and glimmer them. You can glimmer a number of them at a time, and then there is a die that cuts out a handful of sentiments all at once. So you can glimmer and cut out sentiments very quickly and have a lot of them on hand to add to cards as you create. So that's today's card. Here's another look at a few other cards. I kind of kept with the same sort of theme there, using that glimmered flower, using some paper strips and adding a sentiment. Use the same sort of formula for the cards, but change up the colors and change up the card design. So thank you so much for stopping by. Like I mentioned, check out that description box below for links. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, tap the bell for notifications so you never miss another video, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye!